Hello everyone and welcome to another Sunbros Wild Rift Academy guide video. Today we're going to be doing an item breakdown on the boots section. Normally boots is not a section that you would have a lot to talk about, but that is not the case with Wild Rift. There is actually a lot of in-depth content and stuff to talk about in this section. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. First, we start with basic boots. 500 gold, boots of speed. You get movement speed as a base on there, and then if you actually click the boots, you increase your movement speed by 15% for 3 seconds. Dealing or taking damage from champions removes sprint. So you start with the base boots, and then you upgrade them to all the ones on the left side. These are the upgraded versions. We're going to go through those, and then you go to the enchantments after that. We're going to go through all of them and explain to you what they all do, and so you can have a better understanding of which ones to choose in each situation with each hero. Alright, first ones are Gluttonous Greaves. You get 40 movement speed instead of the 15. The second, you get seconds, which is physical vamp. Thirds, which is magical vamp, so you heal when dealing physical and magic damage, 8%. And then you still have the sprint active that is from the original boots. Then on Boots of Swiftness, we get obviously 50 movement speed. Sleek move speed slows reduced by 30%. So when you get slowed, the amount that you're slowed is reduced by 30%. Same sprint active. Then we're moving on to Mercury Treads. You get obviously same footwear. Actually, this was a 50. I just wanted to clarify. So 40 on all of them except for the Boots of Swiftness are 50 move speed. Merc Treads, 10 magic resist. And Tenacity reduces the duration of stun, slows, taunts, fears, silences, blinds, and immobilizes by 35%. So, Boots of Swiftness reduce how much you're slowed, and Mercury Treads reduce the total time that you are crowd controlled by 35%. Same sprint active. Then we're on to Plated Steel Caps, which is same 40 movement speed. Enhanced is 15 armor, and blocks 15% of damage from attacks. So that is a pretty interesting option for tanks. It doesn't clarify exactly what kinds of attacks that could be. It could be from only physical damage or only magic. Now I imagine that they would probably clarify that, so I imagine it's just 15 damage from attacks, and I assume that's auto attacks only, not abilities, because usually it separates attacks and abilities in that way. Then we're moving on to Ionian Boots of Lucidity, which give the same footwear. Lucidity is 15 ability haste, and the secondary part is summoned, reduces spell cooldowns by 15%. So ability haste is cooldown reduction, but it breaks down differently. It's not a 1-to-1 ratio. One ability haste does not equal one cooldown reduction. There's diminishing returns. So the more ability haste, the less it is worth for cooldown reduction. But the Boots of Lucidity give you a flat 15% to start, which is kind of awesome. It's probably one of my favorite boots to get for any hero that relies on abilities to function, as it were. All right, now we're moving on to the enchantments. Now, this is where it gets a little bit more in-depth. We've got, so because I've selected Ionian Boots of Lucidity, the footwear, the lucidity, and the summons are all going to be the same as they were. So it's going to be the movement speed of 40, ability haste of 15, and the summons part reduces spells cooldowns by 15%. That's all going to stay the same because I've selected that. So it's gonna keep moving forward with that stuff. So you can't just buy an enchanted, you have to actually build it in a tier. So first tier is regular boots, second tier is building the upgraded item, and then the third tier takes that upgraded item and puts an enchantment on it, which is going to be the new active at the bottom. So they're all going to have the same thing. So I'm only going to read the active part. Now stasis is the first one. And when you activate stasis, you become invulnerable and untargetable for 2.5 seconds, but unable to move, attack, cast abilities, or use items. It has a pretty long cooldown to 120 seconds. You ever seen anyone in a game turn into basically gold and they just sit there and don't move? That's stasis. It can be very useful in certain situations, but generally speaking, if you're going to go into stasis, your cooldowns will continue to drop. So let's say you have 2 seconds left on a really important cooldown, you pop stasis, well, that cooldown will be up and ready to go when stasis comes off. So it's kind of helpful in that situation if you're about to die, but your team is about to get engaged with you. There's a few situations in which, holy crap, stasis can save your life. Also, you could hit it and then nothing could really change. Your cooldowns don't come up, your teammates don't show up in time, and you just come back to life and die. Maybe if you have flash, there's a lot of kind of ways that it's helpful. It's one of the better ones for a lot of. It's probably one of the most used and most useful ones in the group. Then we're moving on to Locket. The active is Locket. Shield yourself and all nearby allied champions from 70 to 420 damage for 2.5 seconds. So this is a 60-second cooldown. This effect is reduced by 50% if the target has been affected by another Locket in the last 20 seconds. So generally speaking, you only want to do one person on your team with Locket, and it's generally going to be the support. So that is kind of one of the favorites for supports. There's a couple of them, but that's one of the favorites for supports. Then we're moving on to Glory, and the active does gain 15% move speed for 4 seconds, increasing to 60% towards enemy champions or turrets. After 4 seconds or reaching an enemy champion, emits a shockwave that slows nearby enemies by 50% for 2 seconds. So it's basically more movement speed, plus if you hit somebody, or as soon as you get close to an enemy champion, it emits a shockwave that slows them. So it's obviously just a major movement speed buff. Okay, and when you combine that with like Boots of Swiftness, if you need a character who just needs ridiculous move speed to like accomplish their goals, this is the one for you. Glory combined with the Boots of Swiftness. All right, now we're moving on to Proto Belt. The active is dash forward and unleash a cone of missiles that deals 75 to 145 magic damage. If champions or monsters are hit by more than one missile, the additional missiles deal only 10% damage. So 60-second cooldown. This is actually a pretty solid one. Essentially, it's giving you a secondary dash. The dash, I don't believe, it's right around the amount of a flash, but I think it's a little bit less. But obviously, and this can be used offensively, obviously, because what it does is the direction you dash, it does launch the missiles, so it can be used offensively, or obviously you can use it defensively to try to get away. It can be definitely useful for people who at times need to close the gap in order to secure kills, or people who maybe don't have enough movement speed and could use an escape of sorts. It is helpful for that as well. So it does have uses. Next, we're moving on to Quicksilver. The active is remove all crowd control effects. So it doesn't matter what kind of crowd control effects. I'm talking about stuns, roots, immobilizations, knockups, knockdowns, or knockbacks, everything. It removes all crowd control effects currently affecting you and gain 50% move speed for 1.5 seconds. 60-second cooldown, and it does not remove... it does not remove knockups or knockbacks. I think the reason why is because there's an actual animation to that, and you couldn't just like teleport to the ground. All right, so does not remove knockup or knockback, so don't be using it against people like Jin Zhao or against people like Malphite or obviously Yasuo or a whole slew of characters who have knockups or knockbacks, or Vi, for example. So yeah, that's a pretty solid one. That's actually very common for people who lack escapes, because like Master Yi or other assassins who basically, if they get crowd control, they're in deep trouble. Quicksilver is a way to break out of crowd control and get back to your business. Next we're moving on to Ionian Stoneplate. This is actually one of my favorites for off tanks and tanks. Stoneplate active is increase your health by 65%. So if you got a guy who's got a lot of health, for example, Dr. Mundo, I know I always harp on him, but he has Mr. Health, so it increases your health by 65%, which is a pretty good amount, while reducing damage dealt by 60%. So it's actually going to reduce your damage dealt for 4 seconds. If there are 3 or more enemy champions nearby, increase health by 130% instead. So it's only to be used by a fighter if you are in trouble and need to survive and or get away. Okay? It is used by a tank to tank stuff. So you're going to be able to take a lot more damage. You're going to do less damage, but you're going to take so much more damage. So if you're a tank and you are frontlining and you are getting attacked by 3-4 enemies, maybe even 5 because the enemy team is dumb, then this is an item that help you stay alive, give your team a longer, better chance to do what they have to do. So really solid item for tanks. Next, we're on to Redemption. Redemption active or Redeem active is reveal a position, and after 2.5 seconds, a beam of light heals allies for 25 to 375, while enemies take 10% of their max health as true damage. Minions and monsters take 250 damage instead. 60-second cooldown can be used while dead. This effect is reduced by 50% if the target has been affected by another redemption in the last 20 seconds. So that's actually a really interesting one. And this is one I hadn't looked into fully. And the more you look into it, the more you go, oh, this is actually way better than it seems. You're talking about a particular location on the map. So it sounds like you can cast it anywhere you want. It reveals that position, so it gives you vision. After 2.5 seconds, the beam of light hits. It heals your allies and does 10% of their max health as true damage. So if they have less than 10% health, they're dead. I think it's really solid. 2.5 seconds is plenty of time to get away, obviously. So it would require somebody to not be paying attention, or it would require people to be distracted. So if you're dead, for example, and your team is in the middle of a team fight and you want to give them the upper hand, you could definitely cast Redemption where that team fight's going on, and you're talking about 10% true damage to all the characters that are caught in that light and healing for your teammates. That's a big way to flip a fight and turn the tide, as it were. So really interesting ability maybe for supports, or really for anyone who wants to, who doesn't really make great use of any of the other ones. So then we're moving on to Shadows. Active Shadows is summon 2 ghosts that seek out nearby enemy champions. On contact, a champion is revealed and slowed by 40% for up to 5 seconds based upon travel time. So the further it goes, the longer the slow is. I see supports taking this to slow people who are trying to escape, or to slow people who are chasing. Obviously, anytime that you can get a slow off, it's a solid. Any kind of crowd control is super helpful. So definitely has its place in the game, and it's very interesting. And last but not least, it is Teleport. Really simple. You pick a spot to teleport to. It has to be a ward, or it has to be a friendly unit, or it has to be a turret or something like that. You have to teleport to a non-enemy piece of equipment or person on the battlefield. Usually it's wards. It can be minions. So choose that, and then after channeling for 3.5 seconds, teleport your champion to an allied champion, structure, or ward. Well, there you go. Champion, structure, or ward. Apparently, it does not work with... my apologies. It does not work with minions. I think it used to work with minions. They must have changed it. But that's 180-second cooldown, so the longest cooldown of the bunch. But guys, this is the boot section with all of the upgrades and all the enchantments explained, so that you can figure out which one is going to work best for you, and it'll help you make better builds. All right, guys, coming up on the Wild Rift Academy guide videos, we're going to be covering runes, all the runes in all their glory. We're going to make a very quick video discussing the spells, and then we're going to start moving on to some more interesting and more complex stuff, like laning phase, like securing objectives, like what all the dragon buffs mean, and which ones should you try to prioritize. Like anything you guys want to know about, comment in the section below. Please comment in the comment section below. Let us know so that we have some ideas of what people are looking for, and we will cover it, and we will get you guys an idea of, we'll help you build that foundation of knowledge that's going to help take you guys to the next level. Guys, thank you for watching the video on the boots item breakdown. And as always, till next time,